Fear, the truth fear. From the eye vantage point we analyze. See the whole board, no need for tell no lies. Eagle view, so the whole truth uncover. Eagle view, from Lady Escobar. Unfiltered analysis for every sister and every brother. Eagle view, we bring the people them together.
Able to hear you now. Yes. So are you able to hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Awesome, awesome. So just I recognize that you have time against you. So we just go right into the interview just to get the most important things out of the way. So Mr. Vaz, your constituency was one of those areas that were actually hit by the Hurricane Melissa. And in regards to that, I recognize that you are more vocal as it relates to the Petersfield High School shelter, where dozens of family members were actually in that shelter, including even children. And seeing that they were displaced from their homes and they were pushed into a space just to share it, to just in that regards, how far is this whole process of getting persons back to normal in your constituency?
Well, overall, we are nowhere near getting back to normal in this constituency. Many persons are still without adequate shelter, persons having to be staying with family, friends, persons still have tarpaulin on roofs, very uncomfortable situation. So a lot of persons who got significant damage are still not in a comfortable position. So we're nowhere close to where we're supposed to be. And the resources that have been coming in from the government has been at a very slow pace also. And that is why I always say I must thank all of those individuals and organizations from outside, private or public, whatever the case may be, who really assisted with this venture. Because if we didn't have those people, I don't know where we would be today. So we're very thankful for that. But where we are now, we're nowhere near comfortable. And I can just expound with, since you mentioned the Petersfield shelter, those persons who were staying at that shelter, as you know, it was promised by the government that persons who were staying in shelters would have been relocated to suitable accommodation. That has still yet to be done because especially with the Petersfield ones, they were moved from the actual shelter that's where in the school premises and moved next door to where the school flats are, where the teachers would normally stay. But those buildings weren't being occupied and thus they were able to put those families over there. But they're basically still in the shelter because they have not been moved to the location that the government is currently preparing. And that's a location close by in the Shrewsbury area where it was slated that 50 houses will be built. Well, let me explain. It's really container houses that they are going to send, but they are building the bases to put the houses on them. But that area that is being utilized for that particular purpose is nowhere ready. We remember on the 8th of May when the last deadline day for persons to leave the shelter and to go to suitable accommodation. The bases weren't ready at that time. We did more coverage on it each month. We did it in June and also this month. And where we are currently is that 10 bases are prepared. The houses are still not here. The sewage and water and light that is still not in. And the only thing that is being done as we speak now, the roads are being put in. But what the government needs to do is really come and give us a clear timeline because they have not. And that is causing the frustration level to be higher because persons are thinking that there is no hope in this particular situation because there's really nothing happening at the pace that they would want it to happen. Because the impression that we had gotten from the government is that this would have already been completed. But because of several different issues that they have had, we are still at a we are still in a situation where we are nowhere near that site being completed. So then just need to come clear. I've recently asked the minister some questions in Parliament. They have not been responded to as yet. A couple of weeks ago, when he was supposed to answer, he stated that he was asking to do it next week, which would have been last Tuesday. Last Tuesday was the same incident when he had the pepper spraying incident, so he had also asked for us to delay it again because he wasn't prepared based on that incident. So we're still waiting on those answers to come, where we can understand one, how the beneficiaries were chosen for this. We also want to notice the total project cost and and timeline and stuff like that. So we really want this information so people can know and understand when and where they will be actually moving to and when they will move there. And who are the persons who are actually getting it? We still have not gotten the list of families who would actually occupy the 50 houses when the time comes, or who are the first 10 set of families who are going to be there. We have not gotten that information from the Ministry of Local Government. So we're awaiting all that information before we can know what is really happening. And it's really sad that as Member of Parliament I've been kept in the dark when it comes on to a situation like that, because people call me every day to find out what is happening and you really cannot give them any information. So thus we are waiting on the minister to really come forward and respond to the questions that I have been asking and the questions that the people have been asking about that situation.
Basically a case where even the municipality, which is the local government, is clearly unaware or is able to execute their function because the local government minister basically cannot give timelines or basically certain information on the necessary projects to get these individuals back on their feet. So
Well, as,
we
well, as far as I know, the only engagement with the local authorities so far is that I know the ministry would have sent some money for the project. But what was happening, as I said, the project had started even before this funding was allocated, and the necessary requirements that should have been put in place. The parish council has been having some issues with that, and they and the ministry have been working that part out. But with regards to the beneficiaries and who will be getting it and those persons who should be moving in the first 10 houses, the municipal corporation does not have that information either.
relates to the water disruptions because I recognize that water is a significant pain point down there in Westmoreland, and we are expecting that person should be getting clean drinking water, even though they are having challenges in terms of infrastructure. So, what are some of the advocacies or things you have put in forward so far as a member of parliament to see how best you can partner with the NWC to rectify that aspect of it as it relates to water security, especially in the deeper rural parts of your constituency?
Well, from my standpoint, I have a good relationship with the NWC team that is down here, and we continue to communicate with them with regards to issues that we face every single day. One of some of the issues we had after Hurricane Melissa was a lot of burst pipes and areas that the water system was totally out based on pumps being destroyed, and also because the electricity was out for so long, some pumps were out of commission for quite a while. But we have been communicating with them. They have restored most of those pumps, and they are currently still working on restoring some pipelines in some areas. But as I said, we get constant phone calls, like some areas they would have gone to and left. Then you realize after they put the water back in place, they find out that pipes have were burst in other areas. So we are continuously reporting to them when it comes down to that, and they have been trying to respond as best as they can in that particular aspect of it. We have communities though where we have major issues. For example, a rural river community where the water source is right there, but yet the majority of the community does not have proper pipe water because most of the pipes are old and some of the areas did not have any pipes. That is something I'm working on them with again, and they have procured some pipes that they should be implementing very soon. The project is actually supposed to start next week. So I must thank them for that. But we have many other areas that have serious water issues. For example, a Bird Mountain, where they don't have a pump to pump the water to where they are. So that is something we have to look into. We have been lobbying for it. A lot of areas in South sometimes, because of the increased demand that we have now, a lot of areas don't have the water supply that they used to have. So we are also speaking to them on that and speaking to the ministry on that, because these are major projects that would not be able to be funded by a member of parliament by himself. So the ministry has to really approve stuff like this. And what we have seen in the budget, we're not seeing any major projects here to assist with that major water flow and retention. What we are seeing, we got some assistance with a run river project. But for those major projects for everybody really to get that level of improved water supply, those were not in this year's budget. So we'll continue to lobby to the minister and the ministry, and hopefully we should get something significant. Hopefully next financial year we'll continue to do that. But as I said, our job is to really continue lobbying, so we will continue speaking about it until we get these situations remedied. But when it comes on to safe water, I think for the most part, most people would have gotten back that level of water where the system is safe enough for them to use. But the only issue we have, as I said, the areas that don't have the pipe water, these are the areas that the natural concern is always about, and we have to find a way to get that sorted out very quickly.
Said, well said. In terms of Westmoreland, I know Westmoreland is a type of parish that normally attracts tourists. Where whenever you hear Westmoreland, you talk about Little London, you talk about resorts on that side or
Yes.
villas. But in regards to farming and more of the local ecological systems there, would say which took a massive hit during the storm. What direct relief or input distribution have you been able to secure for the farmers who would have lost livestock or crops overall as it relates to Hurricane Melissa? Or is it a case where you'd have lobbied on behalf of those farmers to see what benefits are out there for them?
Well, we have been in discussion with the RADA and the ministry, and we have gotten an allocation from the government of $3 million to assist with farmers that would have been displaced and or have serious issues after Hurricane Melissa. We know that $3 million will not be able to fund this particular project because we have a lot of farmers who would have been devastated by the storm. So we do thank the ministry for providing us $3 million, but we're asking that they should actually try to do a lot more because of where we are and what the situation is. And we also got some money from them for drought mitigation because we have some issues down here with the water, as you know. So we'll be getting, I think, $1.5 million from the government to do that also. But as I said, it's also a drop in the bucket, but we are still thankful.
Guys, we're having some difficulties right there. You will just go ahead and rejoin and we can continue the conversation. But so far, based on what I would have grasped, he would have mentioned that the funds in regards to what would be allocated to ministers isn't enough to deal with the crisis itself of a Hurricane Melissa. And as such, the government has to be very much strategic on how they go about doing these necessary projects to see how best they can get these individuals back on their feet. So, Mr. Vaz, you went out right there, but I actually summarized it for them. So, in regards to, as you mentioned, the farmers and the fact that we more funds are needed to see how best we can assist these farmers. Right? So, you mentioned about the CDF funds and you as a member of parliament. So, seeing that a lot of persons, he will be right back, guys. He will be definitely right back. He had some issues in terms of his connection. He has a meeting, so we have to make the interview very short and quick, so he'll be able to go to the interview, right? So he will be back. But this whole issue as it relates to Westmoreland, I think a lot of persons in Kingston have moved on because maybe their damages in terms of infrastructure isn't that great. So it's a sense where more of them basically move on, not recognizing that we have an entire parish or more parishes in the western side of Jamaica that actually get affected by storm and still can't move on. So Mr. Vaz is here with us again. She's back. So, Mr. Vaz, you mentioned about the CDF, right? And
Yes.
we all know that CDF, in terms of MP allocation can't really help this category 5
No.
hurricane that Jamaica has actually received. So, in regards to that, I want to know Westmoreland persons basically at a standstill right now. And we would have young persons down there in Westmoreland. We have persons, working class individuals in Westmoreland. So do you have any projects currently happening now to see how best you can do a job fair or some form of employment drive where these persons can participate in to see if they themselves can even help themselves?
Well, we do have an annual job fair in the constituency. It was not held last year because of the hurricane, because it's normally held in October. And because of the situation we found ourselves in, with many employers not really in the position to get their businesses back up and running, we kind of delayed to have the job fair. But we will be implementing it this year again. So we are in July now, so persons can look forward to the job fair being returned by October. So we will have that. Currently, the only program we have going on now would be our educational assistance program, where we assist college students, high school students, primary school students, you name it. So that is currently what we are doing as we speak now, and it should be in the implementation phase by late July to August. So currently, we are taking information to structure it in a particular way so it can be implemented efficiently and effectively. So that is where we are now with that. And of course, we have our economic enablement program that is for small business persons that we try to assist them as best as we can. We have our agricultural program that is also ongoing. And we do have our regular welfare and housing assistance programs. But all of these programs really need injection of capital. And because the CDF is so small, it is not able to satisfy the needs of the majority of persons. So most times we can only help a small amount of people with a small amount of benefit, and it really is not enough to give them the start they want, and we're not able to reach as much persons as we really want. But we're trying our best to use the resources we have in the best way possible, because we understand that resources always be scarce. But I do also believe that this CDF allocation, which has been the same since before I was member of parliament, from 2009, it has been the same. And we therefore need to look into it, because what $20 million was in 2009 is totally different in 2026. So that is something the government must look into. All MPs have been lobbying for that change. It has not changed as yet, but we will have to continue to press the government to improve this in the next financial year.
And Mr. Vaz, I have a very important question for you, and it is in regards to your councillor candidate down there in Petersfield Division. I noticed that normally Petersfield Division is more of a normally takes on seasonal politicians, and you yourself would have entered politics very young, and now you have become a seasoned politician. And so far, the representation in the Petersfield division, it looks very good. And I like the fact that you are supporting the young, dynamic councillor candidate for the Petersfield division. And I just want to ask you, what words of encouragement would you really have for this young, vibrant individual that wants to be a part of representational politics, seeing that many youths these days it's like politics to them may be a turn off, or it's because they don't find their true calling as yet. But we have a young individual who wishes to step up to the front and want to represent. What is your best advice for young people who want to enter representational politics, and also for your councillor candidate?
Well, if Reed comes the candidate, I speak to him every day. So the words of encouragement actually go to him every single day, because he, as I said, is young. He is not naive politically, because his family has always been involved as our party workers. So they have been members of the party. So he knows a few things about the People's National Party and what it is about. And the drive and energy that he has, it is only augurs well for the division and what we are trying to achieve. So I always encourage him to continue pressing hard, continue remembering why you're doing this, because you're doing it for the right reasons. Listen a lot and talk less, because persons nowadays try to twist everything that you try to say. And also just to focus on what the division needs, leads of the people, listen to what they're saying, and try our best to work together to implement it. And he has been doing that very effectively so far. As I said, we speak every day, so the communication is there, and whatever issues he would have that he wouldn't be able to solve by himself, he would reach out to me, and I will explain as best as possible how to get it dealt with. If I have to go there with him to do it, then I will also, and I have been doing that. So it is very good what I've seen so far, and the response has also been very good. For people, generally speaking, I always encourage people to enter the political sphere for the main reason of the only way you can make a change is if you're a part of the change. And many people give their opinions all the while about politics, but yet they are not participating in politics. And when they don't participate, we end up in a situation where, for example, last general elections where the voter turnout was so low. So what it means is that a very small percentage of people are deciding for the entire country. And what you realize is that many people who talk the most don't participate in the process. And if you go and talk and have your opinion every day about what is going bad in Jamaica, but yet you're not participating in the process, then how can you change the process? So I always encourage young people. I'm not telling you which party to vote for. But well, naturally, I would want to vote for the PNP. But I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what you must do is always try to understand what is happening out there. Try to look at what both parties are offering to the people, especially when in election time, and pick sense out of nonsense, and you will know who is better to represent the masses of the people. And that is why I always say just try to understand it, because the information is out there at our fingertips. It's not like back in the days when it is hard to get information. It is right there for young people to get it. They're always scrolling, always on the media, but most times on the media for entertainment. So what I'm saying to people out there, go on the media also to find out what is happening in your country. It doesn't mean you just listen to what everybody says on social media. Try to do your research yourself, because many things that are said aren't simply just not true. So you have to figure out what is going on and try to be a part of the change. The only way you can change what is happening in your country is if you're a part of it. So I welcome everybody to get involved in the processes of our political system so you can make a change in Jamaica.
Well said. And I would just like to thank you, Mr. Vaz, for taking the time out to actually join my platform. I'm actually just starting my YouTube channel, and it is very, very good that you were able to grace my platform as a person just starting out. And there you have it, guys. Mr. Vaz here. And he basically outlined the issues surrounding the hurricane victims down there in his constituency in central Westmoreland, as it regards the necessary deadlines that the government need to meet, and the poor communication. And we need the government basically to step up the pace, because it several months past now as it relates to this whole Hurricane Melissa issue, and we're still not getting anywhere. And September is around the corner, Christmas is around the corner, and New Year's is also around the corner, not to mention Easter. And we do wish these persons down there in the West to actually come back to normal life so they can enjoy the finer things that we in Kingston or other areas are actually enjoying. And once again, Mr. Vaz, thank you for taking the time out to join the platform, because I've recognized that a lot of persons in Kingston and other areas would have moved on with their lives, thinking everything is fine down there in the West, thinking that persons are getting help. And if somebody don't come to the forefront and speak, they don't really know what is going on until they take a trip themselves.
That is so true. And really, thank you for
Right.
having me. I thanks for the opportunity to let people really know what's happening. As you rightfully said, people really need to come and see for themselves, and they will fully understand what is happening right down here in Westmoreland.
Once again, thank you for joining the platform, and big up your secretary. She was nice. Let me tell you, professional, and I love it. And you have good persons around you, and you just have to keep it that way. Once again, thank you for joining the platform.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Fear, the truth, fear. From the eye vantage point, we analyze. See the whole board, no need for tell no lies. Eagle view, so the whole truth uncover. Eagle view, from Lady Escobar. Unfiltered analysis for every sister and every brother. Eagle